The moment her fingers brushed the worn canvas of the backpack, Mia Hartley felt something shift inside her. A quiet instinct, a whisper that something about this simple bag wasn't simple at all. The bustling airport around her blurred into a distant hum. Passengers hurried past. Screens flashed departure alerts, and the scent of roasted coffee drifted through the air. Yet she stood frozen, holding the misplaced bag like it carried a heartbeat. She had worked at Gate 47 of Ravenport International Airport for almost 4 years. She had handled lost passports, crying toddlers, urgent medical cases, and disgruntled travelers demanding to be upgraded even when the plane was full. But this felt different. She didn't know why. She couldn't explain it. Still, something about the moment the backpacks got switched, one black, one navy, nearly identical, felt like the beginning of a story she wasn't ready for. Maybe it was the way the passenger had looked at her when he checked in. Quiet eyes, tired but warm, no hint of entitlement. Maybe it was his soft apology when someone bumped into him. Maybe it was how he helped her pick up scattered boarding passes after a sudden gust of air blew papers everywhere. He didn't act like the typical corporate traveler or loud business-class regulars. He seemed gentle. His name on the boarding pass had read Elias Reed. Just Elias. No middle initial, no title attached, casual clothes, no fancy watch, a backpack and a folded jacket. Nothing about him suggested he was anyone special, yet here she was, clutching the wrong backpack, his backpack, and feeling an unexplainable weight press against her chest. "Attendant," a voice called. "Is everything all right?" Mia blinked, snapping back to reality. "Yes, sorry, just verifying something." She placed the navy bag on the counter and looked around. Elias had walked toward the waiting lounge just moments earlier. He sat alone near a large window, staring out at the runway, unaware of anything wrong. Mia took a slow breath and walked toward him, rehearsing what she would say. Just a simple bag switch. No need to overthink it. Happens all the time, she told herself. But her heartbeat didn't slow. When she reached him, he looked up with a polite smile. "Hi again." His voice was calm, almost soothing. "Mr. Reed," she began, "I believe your backpack may have been switched at security. I noticed this one doesn't match the bag you came in with. Could you check?" "Oh," he said, touching the strap of the bag beside him. "Sure, thanks for catching that." He unzipped the bag, and within 3 seconds, his expression changed, just a flicker, but enough for her to notice. Not panic, not anger, something quieter, something buried. "This isn't mine," he murmured. "I figured," Mia said softly. "I'm so sorry. The bags were almost identical. Let me get yours." She handed him the correct one. He exhaled, relief washing through him, but before he zipped it closed again, he paused, as if he wanted to say something, but swallowed the words instead. A strange warmth spread across Mia's chest. She stepped back to return to her desk, but her shoe caught slightly on the bag she still carried, the wrong one belonging to another passenger who had vanished into the security maze. She steadied herself, hand gripping its side, and she felt it again. That odd instinct. The bag felt too heavy for its size, rigid in places where fabric should have bent. And a faint metallic clink echoed from inside, like something delicate shifting. A sudden announcement blared through the terminal, making her jump. "Last call for Flight 129 to Hayleton Sky Harbor. All remaining passengers, please proceed to Gate 47. She hurried back behind the counter, setting the wrong bag aside. But curiosity bit at her, sharp and persistent. "Don't look inside. It's not yours," she told herself, yet her eyes kept drifting toward it. A passenger approached with a boarding pass, forcing her to refocus. She scanned it, smiled, wished him a pleasant flight, but she kept glancing back at the bag, almost as if it was calling her name. When the line cleared, she found herself alone again. She reached for the bag, intending only to move it closer, so she could label it for lost and found. That was all. Just a routine procedure. But then she heard it, the faintest beep from inside. A soft, rapid chirp, almost like a device waking from sleep. Her heart thudded. She hesitated. Her fingers curled around the zipper. "Don't," she whispered to herself. "This could get you fired." But another voice inside her answered, "What if it's dangerous? What if it's important? What if someone needs help?" The beep came again. She swallowed hard and slowly unzipped the bag. What lay inside stole the breath from her lungs. A slim metal case sat neatly in the center, surrounded by layers of protective padding. Not the kind used for electronics bought online. This was customized, precision-engineered, something designed to protect something expensive or classified. And on top of the case lay a card, face down. Her trembling fingers lifted it. When she flipped it over, she froze. A name, a company, an emblem embossed in gold. She knew the company. Everyone did. It was one of the biggest tech conglomerates in the country. The kind of company whose logo appeared on massive billboards, skyscrapers, and high-security research facilities. Her throat tightened. The card read, Elias Reed, Chief Executive Officer, Reed Technologies International. Her pulse pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. "No way," she whispered. "Elias Reed? The Elias Reed? The billionaire CEO? The youngest tech magnate in the country? The man who built half the systems this airport uses?" Her hands shook. She stared toward the window where Elias sat quietly, gazing at the runway like he was just any other traveler, waiting for his flight. No entourage, no security detail, no suit, no assistants, no noise. Just a man in a worn t-shirt, sitting alone. A billionaire, hiding in plain sight. Her mind raced. Why would a CEO worth billions travel like this? Why no private jet? Why no special treatment? Why no announcement or protection? Why carry something so valuable himself? Before she could form a coherent thought, a deep voice cut through the air. "What are you doing?" Mia jerked her head up. Elias stood at the counter, close enough to have seen the card in her hand, close enough to have realized she had opened the backpack. Her breath caught like she'd been struck. I'm sorry," she stammered. "It beeped. I was worried something was wrong." He said nothing at first. His eyes, calm a moment ago, now carried layers she couldn't decipher. Fear, concern, frustration, maybe disappointment. But not anger. Never anger. Finally he spoke, voice low. "You weren't supposed to see that." Mia felt her chest tighten with guilt. "I didn't mean to invade your privacy. It's all right," he said quietly. "But I need you to listen carefully." Her pulse quickened. He leaned closer, lowering his voice even more. "That case contains proprietary data, sensitive information. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could derail years of work." Mia swallowed. "But why carry it yourself?" His jaw tightened. "Because someone inside my company wants it taken. Someone I trusted." He glanced subtly over his shoulder, scanning the terminal. Traveling commercial was the only way to avoid their radar. Mia's stomach dropped. "So the person who switched bags didn't do it by accident," he finished. "And they're still here." A cold ripple slid down her spine. Elias straightened, breathing deeply. "I wasn't planning to involve anyone, but now you know. And that means you're already in danger." Her breath shook. "What do you need me to do?" He met her eyes, calm but urgent. "I need you to trust me. And whatever happens next, don't panic." Before she could speak, a shadow approached from behind him. A tall man, dressed in a crisp suit, moving with the confidence of someone who didn't belong among casual travelers. He held a phone pressed to his ear, but his eyes, sharp and piercing, were scanning the crowd. The man's gaze locked onto Elias. Mia felt the air shift. "Is that?" she whispered. "Yes," Elias murmured. "He's one of them." The man began walking toward them, each step deliberate. Elias grabbed the backpack from the counter and spoke quickly. "Stay behind me. Don't say a word." Her heart raced. The suited man reached the counter, offering a polite but unnerving smile. "Mr. Reed," he greeted. "We've been looking everywhere for you." Elias stood still. "I didn't request company." "Oh, I'm not here to accompany you," the man said, voice smooth and calculated. I'm here to retrieve something that belongs to us. His eyes slid toward the bag. Mia felt her breath stop. Elias didn't move. This bag belongs to me. Oh, I'm not referring to the bag, the man said softly. I'm referring to what's inside. Mia felt her palms grow cold. The man's smile widened, but it never touched his eyes. Let's not make this complicated, Elias. Hand it over. Silence stretched. Then Elias said something that made her pulse slam into her ribs. No. The man's expression darkened. You're making a mistake. Elias shifted slightly, positioning himself between Mia and the stranger. You've already made yours. The man's hand moved toward his pocket. Mia tensed. But before anything else could happen, Elias whispered a sentence that would change everything that followed. Run with me, and without waiting for her answer, he grabbed her hand and pulled her behind him as they sprinted away from the counter. Mia barely had time to process what was happening. Her feet slammed against the polished airport tiles, her breath quick and sharp as Elias guided her through the chaos. Voices called out, announcements boomed, luggage wheels rattled, yet everything blurred into white noise. All she could feel was the heat of his hand gripping hers and the heartbeat pounding relentlessly inside her chest. Keep your head down, he whispered. They weaved between startled passengers, dodging rolling suitcases and confused airport staff. Mia stole a quick look behind them. The tall, suited man was pushing through the crowd with alarming speed, eyes locked on their path, his phone now lowered, both hands free. Her pulse spiked. He's coming. I know, Elias said, firm and focused. We just have to reach the service corridor. Mia didn't know where that was. She'd worked here for years, but never ventured into the hidden parts of the airport, where only maintenance staff went. Elias seemed to know exactly which turns to take, as if he'd memorized the layout long before arriving. How do you know where you're going? She gasped. I built the navigation system this airport uses, he replied breathlessly. It's not hard to remember the blueprint. Right. Billionaire genius. She kept forgetting that part, except every crisis-driven second reminded her. Elias shoved open a door marked Authorized Personnel Only and pulled her inside. A lighting dimmed. The sounds of the main terminal muffled instantly. Pipes lined the walls, and the air smelled faintly of metal and floor cleaner. Their footsteps echoed as they hurried down the narrow, staff-only corridor. Mia tried to steady her breathing. What exactly are we running from? That man, what does he want? Elias tightened his grip on the backpack. My company has been working on a new technology. Something revolutionary. Something dangerous if misused. She stared at him. Dangerous how? He hesitated for only a moment. It can break into any encrypted system on the planet. Banks, government databases, military networks, everything. She blinked. That sounds like a weapon, he finished quietly. In the wrong hands, it would give someone unlimited power, and no one should have that. She swallowed hard. So that metal case contains the core processor and the only data copy. I was taking it to a secure facility to destroy it. Mia felt her mouth go dry. You're destroying your own invention? I have to, he said, jaw clenched. When you realize something you built can destroy more than it could ever help, you don't hesitate. The corridor rumbled as distant shouts grew closer. Elias quickened his pace. But why involve me, she asked. You could have gone alone. You should have gone alone. His steps slowed as he turned to her, his voice softer now. I didn't want to involve you. You were supposed to just help with the bag switch. But once you opened it, you became a loose end they wouldn't ignore. Her breath faltered. So now they'll come after me? Yes, he admitted, and I won't let that happen. The sincerity in his voice made her heart skip in a way that wasn't fear. Elias gently released her hand and opened another door. This one leading into an elevator, meant for cargo lifts. He motioned her inside. We go down 2 levels. There's an underground vehicle access. The doors began to close, but a hand slammed between them. Mia screamed as the suited man forced his way into the elevator, eyes blazing with rage. "You think you can just run?" he growled. Elias reacted faster than thought. He shoved Mia behind him and swung the backpack into the man's chest with a powerful strike. The impact staggered the stranger for a heartbeat, but only a heartbeat. The man swung back, fist connecting with Elias's jaw, snapping his head sideways. Elias collapsed against the wall, pain flashing across his expression. The man reached for the backpack. Mia moved before she had time to think. She grabbed the emergency extinguisher mounted inside the elevator and swung it with every ounce of strength she possessed. The metal cylinder crashed into the man's forearm, forcing him to drop his grip. He snarled and turned toward her, furious. Mia froze. He raised his hand, and Elias surged up, tackling the man into the side panel. The elevator jolted violently as the two struggled, fists flying, muscles straining. "Mia, hit the button!" Elias shouted. Her shaking fingers slammed the underground parking level button. The elevator began its descent, doors finally sealing shut. The suited man cursed under his breath, but instead of continuing to fight, he pressed a small button on his wristwatch. Elias's eyes widened. No! A razor-thin blade shot out from the watch, glinting under the fluorescent lights. The man lunged. Elias caught his wrist mid-strike, the blade inches from his throat. Their muscles trembled as each pushed against the other. Elias gritted his teeth, sweat beading on his brow. Mia stood frozen in fear, paralyzed. The man's free fist slammed into Elias's ribs. Elias gasped, knees buckling. Mia snapped out of it. She raised the extinguisher again and smashed it against the attacker's shoulder. He roared in pain, stumbling just long enough for Elias to twist his wrist violently. The blade clattered to the floor. The man staggered back and slammed his hand on the emergency stop. The elevator screeched to a halt, mid-level, lights flickering. His lips curled into a vicious smile. "You're not getting away." Elias moved in again, but this time the man was prepared. With a brutal shove, the attacker threw Elias into the metallic wall. Elias's back hit with a sickening crack. "No!" Mia cried, rushing to him, but the man grabbed her arm, yanking her away. She winced as pain shot up to her shoulder. His grip was iron, no escape. "You should have stayed out of this," he hissed. She struggled, terrified, breath choking in her throat. "Let go!" Elias, despite the pain, pushed himself to his knees. His voice was weak but unwavering. "Get away from her!" The man only tightened his hold, turning the bladeless wristwatch to reveal another small feature, a tiny injection needle emerging from its side. "This will put you both to sleep until we retrieve what we need," he said coldly. Mia's eyes widened, but then a loud ding echoed above. The lights flickered again. The elevator groaned and resumed descending, ignoring the emergency stop. The man spun, shocked. "What?" Elias, panting, wiped blood from his lip. "I override designed that system myself. You can't stop it mid-route from inside." The man's fury ignited hotter. He lunged again, but the elevator hit ground level with a heavy thud. The doors opened. A security guard stood directly outside, stunned by the chaotic sight inside the elevator. One injured man, another with a forbidden device, and an airport attendant clutching a fire extinguisher. "What on earth is happening here?" the guard barked. Without hesitation, the suited man shoved Mia toward the guard, sending them both stumbling, and bolted toward a maintenance tunnel exit. He vanished before anyone could react. The guard helped Mia upright. "Are you okay?" I think so," she whispered, still shaking. Elias stumbled out of the elevator, gripping the backpack protectively. "Sir, you're injured," the guard exclaimed. "We don't have time," Elias insisted, voice strained. "There are more coming. We need a vehicle." The guard hesitated, but Elias stepped closer, lowering his voice urgently. "If they get what I have, everything you protect, everything your family depends on, could vanish. Help us!" The guard studied him for a moment that felt painfully long, then nodded. "This way." They followed him through the quiet underground facility, past luggage carts and parked maintenance trucks. Finally, he unlocked a white service van. "Take it," the guard said. "Gate cameras will show you left in a maintenance vehicle. Might delay them from tracking." Elias gave a grateful nod. "Thank you." Mia paused as she climbed in. "Call for backup. And don't let anyone down here who isn't airport staff." "You have my word," the guard replied, already reaching for his radio. The van doors slammed shut. Elias slid into the driver's seat, breath unsteady, but determination burning through his eyes. He jammed the keys into the ignition. Mia fastened her seatbelt with trembling hands. What now? Elias pressed on the accelerator, tires screeching as they shot forward through the underground passageway. "We get as far away from this airport as possible," he said. "Then we find a secure place to destroy this processor." She nodded, though anxiety gripped her tightly. "Will they still follow us?" "Yes," he admitted, "but at least now, they don't have you cornered." Her heart fluttered, fear mixed with something more heartfelt. The van sped out of the dim tunnel and into the sunlight, merging onto a quiet service road. Mia stared at Elias's profile, the tension in his jaw, the fire in his eyes. He didn't look like a billionaire. He didn't look like a CEO. He looked like a man carrying the weight of the world. "So," she breathed out, "I'm officially part of this now." "You are," he said without a hint of doubt, "and I'll do everything I can to keep you safe." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tighten again. How could someone with so much responsibility speak with such softness? She exhaled slowly, trying to steady her emotions. "Tell me the truth, Elias. Why didn't you bring security? You could have had a whole team protecting you." He paused, tightening his grip on the wheel. "Because I didn't know who to trust. The betrayal came from inside. The only way to prevent leaks was to let no one know where I was going." She absorbed that quietly. "Then why trust me?" she asked. "A stranger." He glanced at her briefly, eyes gentle. "You weren't supposed to see anything. But when you did, I saw you didn't panic. You acted. You protected me. Some people will never take risks for others. You did without thinking. That's someone I can trust." Her body warmed at his words, but she quickly looked away, hoping he couldn't see how much they affected her. Then Elias's phone buzzed. His expression hardened. "They've traced us already." Mia leaned forward. "How?" "They have access to airport security logs. They know what left the underground gate." He scanned the side mirrors. "We need to switch vehicles. And go somewhere no cameras can track movement." "Where?" she asked breathlessly. He turned down a rural exit ramp, tires kicking up dust. "My family cabin, deep in the forest. No cell service, no surveillance. It's the only place we can finish this." The landscape ahead shifted, busy highways melting into long, winding roads lined by towering trees. Mia watched the city fade behind them, tension and uncertainty swirling inside her. She had never left the airport on a shift. She had never imagined she'd be fleeing danger with a man the entire world knew, but had no idea was sitting quietly among them hours earlier. "Once we reach the cabin," Elias continued, "I'll destroy the device. After that, you can go back to your life." Her heart squeezed unexpectedly. "And you?" He didn't respond right away. Finally, he spoke, voice low. "Someone has to answer for what happened, and that might be me." Mia's stomach dropped. "What do you mean? I created the technology. Even if I destroy it, the people who want it will want answers. They'll want revenge. They'll blame me for pulling the plug." "That's not fair," she whispered. "You're doing the right thing." "Sometimes doing the right thing comes with the worst consequences," he murmured. Silence fell between them, heavy but honest. Trees grew taller, the air cooled, and the road narrowed, stretching deeper into the forest like a secret path. Mia rested her hand on the seat to steady herself as the van jolted over uneven terrain. "What if you don't have to face that alone?" he said quietly. Elias looked at her with startled eyes, softened by gratitude. "I never asked you to stay involved." "You didn't have to," she replied. "I'm already here." He breathed deeply, like her words gave him strength he'd been missing. But then, in the mirror, headlights. Fast. Too fast. Mia's heart dropped. They found us. Elias's jaw locked. Hold on. The vehicle behind them accelerated, gaining distance with alarming speed. Mia clutched the seat. What do we do? Elias's eyes sharpened. We make sure they don't reach the cabin. He pressed harder on the accelerator, the van rattling aggressively down the dirt road. They won't stop, he whispered. Not until they have what they want. Mia gripped the door handle, breath trembling. The chase had started again, and this time there was nowhere to hide but the forest ahead. The chase had started again, and this time there was nowhere to hide but the forest ahead. Elias tightened his jaw, knuckles white around the steering wheel as he pushed the service van to its limits. Dust and gravel exploded behind them, while the black SUV in pursuit surged closer with terrifying speed. Mia could barely breathe. The trees blurred on both sides, turning into streaks of dark green. The engine groaned beneath them, like it might rip apart at any moment. "They're too fast," she cried out. "I know," Elias muttered, voice taut. This van wasn't built for escape. The SUV swerved left, then right, closing in. Its tinted windows gave no hint of who might be inside, or how many. Mia's trembling hand reached for the dashboard to steady herself. "What do they plan to do when they catch us?" "Take the processor," Elias said. "Then silence the witnesses." The words hit her like a punch to the chest. "We can't let that happen. I don't intend to." The road ahead curved violently. Elias jerked the steering wheel, tires skidding across uneven dirt. Mia slammed into the passenger door, gasping at the sudden jolt. "You okay?" Elias asked, not taking his eyes off the road. "Yes," she managed, though fear pumped cold through her veins. The SUV accelerated again, bumping their rear bumper once, twice, hard enough to rattle their bones. Mia's scream tore through the van. "Elias? Hold on!" The van fishtailed dangerously. For a second, she thought they would flip. Elias regained control, barely, and yelled, "Open the glove compartment." Quickly, she fumbled it open as the SUV rammed them again. Inside lay a small object wrapped in cloth. She unfolded it and froze. It was a flare gun. Her hands trembled. "What am I supposed to do with this?" "Point it at the road ahead of them," Elias instructed. "Not at the car, at the ground right before it." Mia swallowed hard, fingers slick with fear. "And fire?" "Yes, now." The SUV attempted another hit. Mia turned in her seat, leaned out the open window just enough, and aimed shakily at the dirt path trailing behind them. She pulled the trigger. The flare shot down like a bright comet, exploding into molten sparks across the road. The SUV swerved sharply to avoid the sudden burst of light and fire. The vehicle skidded sideways, crashing into thick brush. A cloud of dust and leaves rose violently around it. "They're down," Mia gasped. "For now," Elias said, voice strained. "We bought a few minutes. That's all." He looked ahead. The forest grew denser, shadows swallowing the path. "How much farther to the cabin?" she asked, fighting to steady her heartbeat. 10 minutes, he said, "if they don't catch up first." Mia stared straight ahead, praying the engine would hold. Silence filled the van, thick with adrenaline and unanswered questions. Then she spoke, her voice low. "Elias, why did you really invent something so dangerous?" His throat moved as he swallowed hard. "I didn't know what it would become. It was meant to secure information, not steal it. It was meant to protect people." "Like my parents," she blinked. "Your parents?" He nodded, eyes darkening with memory. "They were journalists. They uncovered corruption. Powerful figures who didn't like what truth exposed. One day, they didn't come home." Mia's heart twisted. "I'm so sorry." His voice wavered. "The world needs protection from those who manipulate power. I thought technology could shield people from that. I built something to keep secrets safe, until I realized it could also destroy every secret in existence. It could shatter governments, collapse nations." His grip tightened on the wheel. "I refuse to let that legacy bear my name." Mia placed a comforting hand against her chest, absorbing the weight of his confession. "You're trying to save people. That matters." He looked at her briefly, gratitude softening his features. You don't know how much your words mean right now. A faint noise echoed in the distance. Engine roaring. Mia's stomach dropped. They're coming back. Elias cursed under his breath and pressed harder on the gas. The trees parted abruptly, revealing a narrow wooden bridge spanning a rushing river below. We cross fast, he said. This bridge won't hold much. The van rattled onto the creaking planks. Below them, white water smashed against rocks. Halfway across, headlights reappeared through the trees behind them. They're not slowing down, Mia gasped. The SUV barreled toward the bridge. Elias! He scanned both sides of the bridge. No rails, just open drop. If they hit us here, we're done. The SUV thundered forward. They had seconds, maybe less. Elias made a terrifying decision. He yanked the wheel right at the last moment. The van burst off the road and into the brush on the far side. Branches scraped violently against the sides. Mia screamed as they bounced over roots and uneven ground. The SUV slammed onto the bridge behind them with uncontrollable momentum. Crack! The wooden planks buckled. The entire structure groaned like a wounded beast. Mia turned in horror as the bridge collapsed from the center. The SUV plunged downward, metal tearing, glass shattering, before crashing into the violent river below. The van skidded to a halt in the forest, engine smoking. Silence followed, only broken by the distant rage of water consuming twisted metal. Mia stared wide-eyed, her body trembling uncontrollably. Did we just? Elias nodded, breathing hard. That should slow them down significantly. She couldn't speak, could barely think. We have to move, Elias insisted gently. You okay? She nodded shakily, though shock pulsed through her limbs. Elias reached over and squeezed her hand. Not romantic, not desperate, just present and real. We're still alive. That's what matters. His touch helped her breathe again. The van sputtered, engine coughing like it was trying to keep a promise. Smoke curled from beneath the hood. It's dying, Mia whispered. We're close, Elias said, shifting into gear, just a little farther. The van limped through the dense woods until a small break appeared, an old gravel driveway, leading to a secluded structure hidden beneath towering pines. The cabin, small, rustic, completely isolated. We made it, he exhaled. They climbed out of the van. For the first time since they met, the world was quiet. Only the distant call of birds and the soft rustle of wind through leaves. Mia's knees nearly buckled in relief. Elias opened the cabin door with a key hidden beneath a loose stone. Inside, dust coated the furniture. A single lamp flickered to life when he flipped the switch. Home sweet hideout, he muttered. Mia stepped in, hugging herself. No one else knows about this place? No one alive who would betray it, he answered. That was both comforting and terrifying. Elias set the backpack gently on a wooden table. He unzipped it, removing the sleek metal case. The object seemed to pulse with significance, like the heart of a revolution sitting silently in the dark. Mia hovered close. What now? Elias knelt beside an old safe built into the floor. He entered a code with steady fingers. The safe clicked open, revealing a heavy-duty destruction unit, like a fusion of a shredder, incinerator, and compactor designed for wiping technology from existence. Mia stared. You planned this? He nodded. A contingency I hope to never use. He lifted the case toward the safe. But then, 3 rapid knocks hit the cabin door. Mia jumped back, heart leaping to her throat. Elias froze. Another knock. Louder, harder. Her voice cracked. How did they find us? The bridge. They must have had multiple teams, Elias whispered, fear entering his voice for the first time. The knocking turned into pounding. Elias closed the safe, locking the device inside, and motioned for Mia to stay quiet. He approached the window slowly and peered out. His entire body stiffened. What is it? She whispered. His words came out like ice. It's not them. She swallowed. Then who? Elias unlocked the door. A man stumbled inside, collapsing to his knees. Blood soaked the side of his shirt. It was the suited attacker from the airport elevator. Soaked, bruised, half drowned, but alive. Mia's scream caught in her throat. Elias stepped protectively in front of her. The attacker coughed, gasping for breath, eyes burning with fury and desperation. "You think this is over?" he choked out. "You can't run from us." He reached into his jacket. Elias reacted instantly, hitting a switch near the wall. Heavy metal shutters slammed down over every window and door, locking the cabin in a fortified shell, trapping all three of them inside. The attacker smirked through blood-stained teeth. "You're cornered now," he rasped. "And we're not done until you hand over what we came for." Mia pressed against Elias, terror constricting her lungs. "How many are coming?" Elias demanded, voice loud and solid. The man's smile widened with wicked confidence. "All of them." Elias's breath hitched. Mia felt every muscle in her body tighten as the pounding of multiple footsteps echoed outside, an army surrounding them, ready to break in. The attacker's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "You should have never trusted anyone, Elias. Especially not her." Mia's blood ran cold, and the nightmare was only beginning. Mia felt her pulse slam into her ribs as the attacker's chilling whisper hung in the air. "You should have never trusted anyone, Elias. Especially not her." His words slithered under her skin like poison, but Elias didn't even flinch. He stepped further between them, shielding her with his body. "You're lying," he growled. The attacker laughed, a broken, bitter sound. He wiped blood from his mouth and sneered. "A woman you met less than an hour ago? And you think she's on your side?" Mia's voice cracked. "I didn't ask to be part of this." "Oh, but you are," the man hissed. "You opened the bag. You triggered our alert system. And now you're the reason he's still running." Her heart sank like a stone. Elias clenched his fists. "Enough. She saved my life. Twice. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong." The attacker's eyes darkened. "You think saving you once earns trust? Wake up, boy. Everyone has a price." Elias lunged forward in a fury, grabbing the man by the collar and slamming him against the wall. The cabin shook with the impact. "What do you want?" Elias shouted. The man just smiled back. Outside, footsteps circled the cabin. Dozens of shadows moved past the windows. Mia could hear muffled voices, commands exchanged, weapons clicking. The entire forest felt like it was holding its breath. Elias released him and stepped back, chest heaving. The attacker exhaled shakily. "You have something that changes the world. You think we'll give up because of a collapsed bridge?" He smirked. "We adapt." Mia's panic rose like a wave threatening to drown her. "Elias, what do we do?" she whispered. He turned to her, eyes softening even in the midst of chaos. "We finish what we came here to do." He hurried to the safe and began entering the code. Mia rushed to his side, instinct screaming for survival. "What if they break in before you destroy it?" she asked. "Then we stall them long enough for the destruction to complete," he replied, voice steady. "Once it starts, nothing can stop it." The safe clicked open. Elias grabbed the metal case. The shimmering core processor inside was the size of a paperback book, yet held enough power to topple the world. He carried it to the destruction unit. The attacker's eyes widened. "If you destroy that, you're dead, and so is she." Elias ignored him and placed the processor into the machine. The lid clamped shut with a thunderous metallic snap. Mia watched his hands tremble, just slightly, as he hovered over the activation button. He looked at her, not with fear, with gratitude. "Mia, thank you," he whispered. She shook her head, tears threatening her voice. "Don't say goodbye, not like this." He gave a small pained smile. "It's not goodbye. It's just, if things go wrong, I want you to know this wasn't pointless. You were the reason I didn't give up." Before she could reply, a boom shook the entire cabin. The shutters trembled violently. Another boom. Gust rained from the ceiling. "They've got explosives," Elias muttered. Panic surged like electricity through Mia's limbs. "We're running out of time!" He slammed his hand down on the button. The machine roared to life, gears grinding, flames igniting within the chamber. A digital timer appeared. 02. 2 minutes. The attacker pushed himself up, desperate. Don't do this! Elias knocked him down again with a swift strike. You had your chance, Elias snapped. Outside, the attacks intensified. Metal buckled. Voices shouted orders. They were coming in. Mia grabbed Elias's arm. Where do we go? He pointed to a narrow metal hatch partially hidden beneath a rug. Storm cellar tunnels. They lead deeper into the forest. We can escape while the cabin holds them off. The attacker laughed from the floor. You think they'll let you run? You'll be hunted forever. Elias glared. Better hunted than responsible for chaos. Mia pulled the rug aside and wrenched open the hatch. A steep ladder descended into darkness. Go, Elias urged her. No, she said firmly. We go together. The door behind them splintered, the metal shutter finally giving way. Now, Mia, Elias yelled, grabbing her shoulders. Tears burst from her eyes. Elias, he pressed his forehead to hers for the briefest second. An electric connection, intense and terrifying. We survived this, he whispered. Together. A loud blast ripped the shutter off its hinges. Gunfire erupted into the cabin. Mia grabbed his hand and climbed down first. Elias right behind her. As his foot cleared the hatch, he slammed it shut. They landed in a narrow tunnel lit only by faint emergency lights. Dust fell as explosions continued above. We need to move, Elias urged. They ran through the underground passage, the wall shaking with every impact. The destruction unit's timer ticked in her memory, 0110. They raced deeper until the tunnel split into two directions. Elias paused only a moment. Left leads to the riverbank. Once the blast triggers, they'll assume we died. Right leads to open woods, too exposed. Mia squeezed his hand. Left. They sprinted on, breath burning, hearts like war drums. Finally, fresh air. They burst out into a clearing near the river. Moonlight glimmered off rushing water. They were alive, almost. Elias checked his watch. 0:20. He took Mia's hand, urgent and trembling. When that timer ends, the blast might cave the tunnel entrance, he warned. We need distance. They ran. Branches whipped past. Gravel crunched underfoot. The river roared alongside them. 0:10. Mia stumbled, but Elias caught her, yanking her back to her feet. They didn't speak. 0:05. The air thickened with tension. 0:03. Mia looked back. The cabin was nothing but a dark silhouette among trees. 1. Down, Elias shouted, tackling her to the ground. The night erupted. A thunderous explosion tore through the forest. Fire burst into the sky, painting the world in violent orange. Birds scattered. Trees bowed. The ground shook like the earth itself was screaming. A wave of heat washed over them. Then, silence, except for the fading crackle of flames and the river whispering beside them. The world returned. Slowly, Mia lifted her head from Elias's chest. We did it. Elias exhaled shakily and looked into her eyes, relief breaking into a soft, exhausted smile. We did. He brushed dirt gently from her cheek. His hand lingered longer than necessary. The closeness sent a warm shock through her heart. She swallowed. What now? He looked up toward the smoke rising in the distance. They'll search the wreckage. They'll assume we burned with it. That buys us time. For what? She asked, voice small but hopeful. To figure out what comes next, he said. He sat back, wincing from bruises and exhaustion. She took his hand and inspected the cuts along his knuckles. You need a hospital. He shook his head. Hospitals ask questions, and my enemies have long arms. Mia's fear fought with determination. We can't stay in the open. Where do we go? Elias stared at the river for a moment, deep in thought. Then, to rebuild quietly, to live quietly, to protect what's left in the world, and maybe figure out how to trust again. He looked at her, eyes softening. You don't have to stay, he added gently. You have a life waiting, a job, a home. Mia's heart twisted. What home? A tiny apartment with cold leftovers? A job filled with strangers she'd wave goodbye to forever after every shift? A life that felt small and forgettable. She shook her head. My life was standing behind a counter, hoping something meaningful would finally happen. She lifted his hand to her chest. Then you showed up with a wrong backpack and turned my world into something that matters. Elias's breath caught. You matter, Mia, he said, voice thick with emotion. More than you know. A tear traced down her cheek. He wiped it gently with his thumb. No fear, no hesitation. Their foreheads touched again, but this time slower, full of choice. Not an accident of chaos. A promise. When they finally pulled apart, he whispered, Let's disappear. Mia smiled through the remaining tears. Together. He stood, hands still in hers, and they walked along the riverbank, toward a future unknown but theirs. Behind them, smoke curled upward from a cabin that no longer held the world's most dangerous invention. The monster was gone. Ahead of them, dawn was already peeking over the horizon, soft light breaking through the shadows of towering evergreens. A new beginning, a new life. No titles, no wealth, no fear. Just two souls choosing each other against impossible odds. As the first warm rays of morning touched their faces, Elias squeezed her hand and whispered into the quiet forest air, We survived. Mia squeezed back, and we'll keep surviving. Together, they disappeared into the trees, not as a billionaire CEO and an airport attendant, but as two people who saved the world and found something worth living for in the process.